Okay, so sorry about that. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're joining us here today. I'm really glad you were able to join us right after spring break. But we're going to learn today a little bit more about informational interviewing, why it's important, how you can put it into practice. So I will go ahead and turn our time over to our presenter to teach us more.
Hi everyone, I am Latifa Yasna, and today we are going to have a presentation on Workplace. So I'm going to just have a screen share. Would you please just allow me to screen share?
Yes, you should have that full access now.
Great. Okay, just let me know if you can't see that.
We're all good.
Great. So I am Latifa Yasna, and I'm a career peer with a career and professional development services department, and also a Workplace working learner. So today we will be learning about informational interviewing and how to conduct one. So this is an objective. We will first talk about information interview and why they are important. And then we will talk about how to prepare, who to interview, and questions to ask about that. Okay, so do you guys have any idea on what is information interview? Anyone? You can just type it in the chat, or you can just turn on your microphone and if you have any idea about that.
I'm not sure if this is right, but I'm going to throw it out there. But before I started my program at ASU, I wanted to go into accountancy. So I found an accountant and just asked him about his educational process and his employment process and any goals and suggestions that he had for me in the process.
Yeah, great. That's it. So information interview is an informal meeting with a person who has a job title or works in an industry that you are interested in that, and you want to know about that industry more. And this is a meeting to get advice and information only. So you can't just go and ask them for a job. So it's not a job interview or something. It's just an interview of like an informal interview based on like advices, if you want to know more about the industry, what type of work environment that industry has, and especially the job itself. So it's going to be only advice based. That's it. Yeah, thank you. That was also really good. And so this is how to make organized and good information interview. So there are many types of that. The first one is the modalities. So it's always good to be determined and to format the interview. And most interviews are conducted over Zoom, in person, or on a phone call. So the person who reaches out to you to schedule the interview will provide you with those all information. And so if you're participating in a phone interview, always remember that the employers cannot see you, and you cannot read the interviewer's body language to know how they are responding to you, or how you're gonna react on some of those questions. So be sure to communicate clearly and concisely. And even though they can't see you, if you dress for an interview, if you like in a formal way you dress for an interview, you will feel more confident. And also avoid background noises by using headphones or use any quiet area. And keep your answers on the shorter side, and just ending them strong. Just don't trail them off. And finally, avoid using speakerphone. Speakerphones can pick up on background noises and distract your voice. So it's very important that the interviewee can hear you responses to each question. And clearly, it should be clear too. And if you're participating in an interview with conducted in an in-person way, so one of the advantages of an in-person interview is that you can clearly observe the interviewer's body language and adjust your answers and tone accordingly. So you can also be more easily, you can just also make more easily connections and talk to them like comfortable, I can say. And if you have your interview in virtual way, like a Zoom or any like Team or any other thing, so we highly recommend that you dress professionally to give the interviewee community a good and great first impression, since they will see you, right? So why we don't make our first impression great? And communication is not as fluid as an in-person interview due to the limitation of the screens, but be sure to keep your eye contact on the interviewees and also answer all the questions clearly. And the person who contacts you will inform you if the interview will be on Zoom or Teams or any other platform. So just try to make sure that you are setting up your accounts and test your settings ahead of time before the interview. And also make sure your background setting is not distracting. If on Zoom, you can use an appropriate or clutter-free background, or you can blur your screen, and just make sure that you dress professionally for the interview as well. So some people would just have a coat or something from waist up, but it's always good to just be professionally all over and to just make you feel confident as well.
Just to add a
Okay.
note on that really fast.
Yeah, sure.
When I was going through different Zoom interviews, I was doing a lot of my interviewing while we were going through COVID, and it's so tempting to just from the waist up have that professional dress and then be in pajamas on the bottom or cozy pants or whatever. But it really does make a difference if you are fully in that professional get up and mentally there, so that you can be in tune with what they're trying to tell you, even if this is not going to get you a job, but you're going to use this information to then later get a job and connect with people. So use it to your full advantage.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so now we'll talk about a powerful introduction, or I can say, or also known as elevator pitch. So let's see what is a powerful introduction. A powerful introduction is a conversation starter to introduce yourself and your professional background. You can just use this barcode to access the handouts on the screen and draft your own powerful introduction. I will just keep it for a second so you can just scan the barcode. All right. Okay, let me know if you didn't scan it so I can just leave it at the end also. So, okay. So we talked about information interview. So there's this question why we should have this information interview. What are the reasons? Anyone knows about that? Anyone can guess? Okay. I will explain. I know this is kind of like tricky, but it's all right. Okay. So let's see the reasons. So there are multiple reasons for that. First one is to gain clear insight to a specific career field. Sometimes we know about the job, that's all we read in the Google, on their websites, but we don't exactly know what is really going on in the website or inside that job, like how are the employers reacting and how do they feel. So it's always important to have an information interview to have a clear and concise idea about the job and also work environment and everything, and learn important issues in the industry to receive candid information that may be difficult to obtain otherwise, and gain a good sense of workplace environment, and to learn from knowledgeable people about how to best prepare for particular careers, so we can just use their advices, their like their mistakes, their anything, like we can always use their experiences to build our own skills and our own career life, and to develop a new professional contact to add to your network, and to get tips about shared personal experiences like changing career paths, handling workplace conflicts, or navigating family work-life balances. And so how to prepare that? When preparing to schedule your information interview, there are some steps that we need to just follow them. So the first step is going to be modality, which is the way you are going to conduct your interview. It's going to be by Zoom, in person, or a phone call. What type of interview you want to have. And then the second step is going to be to know what you are good and what skills you want to highlight to the person you're interviewing. So it's also important to like highlight them and to make them organized. And then the third step is going to be research. So research the organization of the person you will be interviewing to learn more background information about that organization or the industry as well. So if you're talking to people or if you're having an information interview, just make sure to have some researches so you're not blindly interviewing someone and you don't have any information or any background information about the company or the person as well. The fourth step is to prepare your questions, to have some questions, like major questions that you really want to know. And we will talk about what kind of questions we will have for the information interview, so you don't worry about that. And the fifth step is have a strong idea about the career and industry before the interview. So it is important to show the person you are interviewing that you are serious and you have done research and you have done a lot of research on the background and everything. You know a lot of information about that. And the last step is when setting up the interview, be sure you're providing the subject with the purpose of the interview and approximately how long the interview will take time. So the person of interview can just have that in her schedule. So it's not like just make it out with their schedule as well. Okay, so now who can we interview? Who can we have an information interview? Anyone can guess?
Really anybody. The first time that I did it, I just went with a friend that I knew who was in the business.
Great.
And then I asked him for somebody else that I could talk to, somebody that he would recommend.
Okay, great. Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't have to be someone very like celebrity or someone who is really in a high position. It can be a friend or family member. It can be even your school's alumni. It can be like your LinkedIn alumni tool, faculties, coworkers, guest speakers, previous employers, career events, like, for example, career fairs or conferences or any professional journals. They can be a great information interviewees for each of us. So we can always use any of these sources. And what kind of questions would you ask during the information interview? And if you have any idea, you can just please go ahead. And if not, I have a range of questions and we can discuss about them too. Okay, I will get it as let's go and work on the questions. Okay, so there are a range of questions that are really good questions, actually. If I am supposed to have an information interview with anyone, I would definitely use these questions. They are really strong questions and also on the point, like whatever information we need. So it's going to be like, what advice would the individual offer someone planning on entering this career? Or if they were starting out again, what might the individual do differently? So in a way, kind of like knowing from their experiences and what skills are most important for this kind of work. Are there any other fields in which the same types of skills are used, and what might be some related occupations in the same industries or same major too. And how long has the individual been employed by the organizations, and for what length of time have they held their current position? So we can, in a way, know if this company have any promotions or any development within their industry. So which is a good question. And what do they look for in hiring an individual, like what skills or values? And does the company have a profile of ideal employers? And there's also other range of questions, like what are the major certification that individual drives for working in this field, and to what extent does the individual feel their experiences are typical or others? And what are the major responsibilities of the position? Like what are the specific duties performed? How do they spend 80% of their work day? Like all these questions are really important and essential for knowing if you are going to work in an industry or trying to find a job in a company or somewhere. And also, could they give you names of other people who might have been able to provide additional information, like if they can also use this as a referral? And that's also a good way to make more connections with the other employers within that industry. And this right now, everything is on connections and communication everywhere. And what was the career path of the individual from entry level to present? And could they recommend sources for additional information, such as special books or trade publications and professional journals? So all of them are the questions that we can use for the information interview, and to just have more information about this industry.
I'll note with questions as well. I think
Yeah, sure.
that people are usually pretty good when you are, especially if you're coming to them as a student, asking them questions about their job and what they do. They're going to be pretty good at sharing information. And so you want to have questions ready, but then also just be willing to listen and take in the information. You will also get those people that are not as good as giving the information you want. So you do want to make sure you're prepared with whatever questions you really want to know, so that you can come out of that interview going, okay, I understand what this job does. I understand what I'm going to get if I go into this field, and that type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so now we know about the information interview and how you're gonna, how it's processed. So now let's have a plan. You can just use this slide to develop a plan for your interview and decide who you will interview and what you want to learn from this person, or from this industry, or any company you are looking for, and have a minimum of 3 questions prepared. And also, please feel free to take a picture of this slide so you can use this as a drafting your own information interview plan. I will leave it for a second. Okay, so today we learned why they are important and how to prepare for an informational interview, and who do we do an information interview with, and what questions to ask. If you have any question, please feel free to ask, and yeah, I'm happy. I will be glad to answer. Did I? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
While you're thinking about any questions you might have, I'll also draw your attention to the fact that in level 3 of the Work Plus pathway, as you're going through, it will specifically talk to you about informational interviewing and take you through those steps of going through different LinkedIn pages, to going through different jobs to find those skills that you need, so that you can be adequately prepared for that informational interviewing. So all of those. And then yeah, it looks like you have a question in the chat when you're ready.
Yes, great. Yeah. Should you have the questions memorized prior to the meeting with a person, or can you to written list? So it's always good to have a note with yourself, so you don't have to like memorize all of them. Just make sure to have some notes, and it's always okay to just have a look at your note and to be organized and prepared. Yeah, I would suggest to have a note with yourself. Thank you. That was a good question.
Another thing with that is you might consider recording the interview so that you can go back and reflect on what they said. If you are going to do that, make sure you ask the person if they're okay with that. And then also, if you're in person or over Zoom, let them know that you're going to be taking some notes. And so if your responses are a little stalled, it's because you want to get as much information as you can from it.
Exactly.
That'll also give you that space to write down your questions.
I'm back on.
Exactly. That's correct. Okay. Any more questions?
I think that might be it. If anyone does have any questions, you can definitely reach out. I know that Career and Professional Development Services has lots of resources available to you on informational interviewing, and WorkPlus is also happy to help as you go through that. Otherwise, we're super happy you guys were able to join us today, and I will also put a plug in for our next event that is coming up in the, I don't remember the date off the top of my head, on April 17th, and we're going to be going through your LinkedIn profile, how to create your digital presence, and then also networking techniques, which will play into getting different informational interviews, as LinkedIn is a really good source for you to find people in your field. So with that, I hope everyone has a great rest of your afternoon.